Selling a boat? Or your house to move aboard the boat? Well, then you're probably looking at brokers. How do you choose a good one? I'll tell you my tips in a second. Hi, welcome to the Boat Galley Podcast. I'm Carolyn Sherlock, here with tips, reviews, and how-tos for your cruising adventure. This episode of the Boat Galley Podcast is sponsored by Marmara Imports. Their hand-loomed, fair trade, organic cotton Turkish towels are highly absorbent, dry quickly, fold flat, and are soft and luxurious. Perfect for life aboard. Use coupon code PODCAST10 for 10% off any order of $40 or more. MarmaraImports.com. More than a towel. Slow down, slow down. If you're selling your boat or your house, you're probably at least thinking about whether you want a broker. And unless you've previously had a great experience with a certain one, or otherwise know one that you think does a superb job, you're probably wondering how to find the right broker. I've gotten questions from several people about choosing a broker, and several more asking why we decided to sell our house ourselves. In my book, the right broker is worth every cent of their commission. That's typically 6 or 7% for homes and 10% for boats. But a bad broker is worse than useless, as your house or boat becomes dated on the market, and then people start wondering what's wrong with it. To me, selecting a broker is something you need to do carefully. You don't want to just pull a name from the yellow pages. Selling a boat or a house is a big transaction, and you want someone who is going to get results. Getting a good price is important. Taking care of all the documents correctly is also important. But making it all happen in a reasonable time frame is key. Marketing is paramount. Although what they're selling is different, how I go about selecting a broker is pretty much the same for either a boat or a house. Somewhere, you're going to develop a list of possible brokers from the internet or the yellow pages, but don't call them to set up an appointment just yet. What I do then is take a look at some of their listings and see how well presented they are. Are the pictures clear? Did they have the owner remove clutter and clean the place up? Did they choose a sunny day? Do the photos show the features well? Does the write-up make the boat or house sound interesting? Does it highlight important features and tell you why those things are important? Does the ad seem pretty generic? Look through the ads as though you were a potential buyer and see if they would make you want to inquire further. Most initial searching is done online these days, and a poor online listing translates into few inquiries. When we bought Barefoot Gal, I was really disappointed in many of the ads that I looked at. There was obviously wrong information, a catamaran listed as a monohull, for example, and many cases where the details or specifications were only 1 to 2 sentences long, usually including the phrase, "you have to see." Most often, we didn't. When you found a few brokers that interest you, my next step is to walk or drive by some of their listings, and not just the high-dollar ones. Check out some that are similar in price to what you think your boat or house would go for. You want to see what they do in similar circumstances. Is the signage good? Is there an info box, also known as a take one? Is there anything in it? Grab one and see if it's well done. A nifty feature that I've seen some tech-savvy brokers use is to put a QR code, that's that funny-looking square box thing, on the signs and flyers. Scanning this with a smartphone will take the potential buyer right to the full listing so they can get all the info standing right there. Then I call or email the broker for more information, generally with specific questions. The speed of the response and completeness will tell you a lot. Basically just think, is this how I want questions about my boat or house answered? I've never gone so far as to view a boat or house as though I were a purchaser while evaluating a potential broker, thinking that I've had a good enough feel for someone from the call or email, or lack thereof. And after I went through this exercise with local realtors for our house, Dave and I decided that we weren't impressed with any of them. None stood out as knowing the lake or what was important about buying a lake property. And 2 friends who had sold their houses on the same lake had all ended up selling it themselves, after having no bites while they were listed with a realtor. While the initial assumption is that people who are selling their boat or house by owner are too cheap to pay for a broker, I don't think that's usually the case. It certainly wasn't for us. We simply felt that we could market the house much more effectively ourselves. And as a follow-up note, we got a great offer just 12 hours after we put it on the market. All the time and effort we put into marketing it had certainly paid off. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm down on brokers at all. As I said earlier, a good broker will have the contacts and know-how to get your property sold quickly. They are a huge help and will earn their commission. But if the right broker isn't in your area, it may be time to tackle the job yourself. And if you're worried about the legalities, a title company or local real estate attorney can handle that part of the deal for you. Now, one quick additional note based on our personal experience. Don't just go with the broker that suggests the highest listing price for your boat or house, particularly if it's well above what others suggest and what your gut says you can get, even if they say they're confident they can get that price. Go with the one that you think will actually get it sold. And congratulations on moving into the next phase of your life. Thanks again to our sponsor, MarmaraImports.com. More than a towel, use with imagination. And thanks to you for listening to the Boat Galley podcast. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe and tell your friends about it. And a review is always appreciated.
Slow down.